Okay. Would anybody else like to share about their business? Feel free to go ahead and share it in the chat window again, and give you guys another few seconds. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and kick it off. Andrew, please introduce yourself and let us know a little bit who you are, and then of course take us through digital marketing. Tell us all about it.
Cool. Well, my name is Andrew. First off, I would just like to thank you guys for just having me here. Thanks for Phil for reaching out. I am the digital marketing manager at HyperX. I'm not sure if everyone knows what that is, but it's a gaming peripherals brand. So we do like headsets, and I'm wearing one of the headsets right now. Keyboards, mice, and just anything people use to game. I don't really like to introduce myself as like anything more than someone who's just learning digital marketing like everyone else. I think digital marketing is one of those areas where there's continuous learning. So I don't see myself as any type of guru or anything like that. I just hope that with this presentation, I can impart some knowledge and see where we can take it. I'm going to share my screen. But if there's any questions or anything, please ask them. I would love to have like this to be more of a conversation than me just telling you what I know. It may not be what you guys see as digital marketing, and that's why I called it the myths of digital marketing. So if there's something that seems off or anything that you say, well, that's not what I really know of, just let me know, because we're basically kind of just learning together. Okay, so can you guys see my screen? Cool. So yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. So yeah, let's just get started then. Yeah, like I said, like the myths of digital marketing, like I feel like there's a lot of just like everyone has an opinion about what digital marketing is, and there's a lot of influencers and a lot of people who can give advice of what digital marketing is. I'm not the kind of person who looks at like how-tos, like because there's just so much information about digital marketing online that you can basically just look it up if you want to learn how to do something. In this case, I'm more of a why person, so we're gonna go through like the whys of digital marketing. Yeah, and yeah, just like I said, if there's any questions, just let me know. So the first thing that I really want to debunk is the adage that digital marketing or marketing in general is advertising. I just put up these two definitions of what marketing and advertising are. Marketing is the activity set of institutions and processes for creating, communicating, delivering, and exchanging offerings that have value for customers and clients, partners, and the society at large. Whereas advertising, I gotta move my, advertising is the act of practice, is the act or practice of calling public attention to one's product, service, needs, etc., especially by paid announcements. So you can kind of see the difference between the two. The best example I can probably give is, I would say, Nike. If you look at the branding of Nike, you can probably go to any store, any place that Nike like sells shoes or any products, and know that it's Nike. That's what marketing is. It's them expressing themselves with the why and how they do things. Whereas advertising is it's the way to get that message out. Advertising is more so the delivery system. So if you're trying to advertise without knowing why you're advertising or not knowing why there's a brand or what brand you have, you're kind of just spending money on maybe product announcements or things that maybe people don't generally have an emotional tie to. So most of the time when I see like small businesses and just businesses in general advertise, it's more so for the product itself, not the message behind the product. And I can give the example of just like Nike. When you see a commercial on Nike, do you see shoes? Most likely not. Like just like the last commercial with them bringing back sports, it had nothing to do with Nike shoes, but it gives you that general feeling of, you know, that Nike's mission is for the athlete. So that's like my separation of the two, marketing and advertising. So the first thing I want to kind of debunk is that traditional marketing is dead. You know, like Wally mentioned that he does direct or um, in mail marketing. It really depends on your marketing mix, and digital marketing is only one part of it. So I wouldn't say to be afraid of something like direct mail or any other types of traditional marketing like commercials, to be a part of that mix depending on who your audience is. So that goes into the idea of just knowing who your audience is. If you're marketing to someone who's of a younger demographic, it definitely makes sense to be online. But if your audience isn't really online or isn't where the eyes are supposed to be for you to market to them, then you have to find those other avenues. So like when I see new entrepreneurs or new startups coming up, they solely focus on digital marketing when they don't know that their audience may be somewhere else. So here I give an example of a restaurant. And yes, it's important to be on Yelp if you're a restaurant because a lot of people are on Yelp. But I know tons of friends and families who still use the paper menu that gets put into their email or put on their door. So it just really, you really have to know what's effective and what's not for your audience. The next one is websites with product is all you need. And that's something I would like to debunk. I've seen plenty of like startups with websites that only have their product and nothing more, as if to say, if I make a product, that's what people are going to want and they're instantly going to buy it just off the strength of the product description. And that may or may not be true. Sometimes people really need a reason why to buy the product outside of that it can do this or it can do that, or you have this or you have that. The benefit is not really shown on product pages. So there has to be some supplemental type of marketing you can do so that people know why they should buy this particular product instead of this particular product. Um, I think product pages have come from just like kind of old school a way of thinking when like say aspirin back in the day, there was just aspirin. You know what aspirin to buy because there was very few to choose from. But now if you go into a grocery store, there's like 50 different types of aspirin. So how do you know which one to buy? You can't do it based off the description of the product because every single description is the same. So how do you kind of supplement that? The best way in a digital sense is content marketing. And all content marketing is making that supplemental content so that people know why they should choose you other than your competitor or other than someone else. Content marketing is so verse. It can be a blog, it can be video content, it can be a podcast. All it is just something giving you that like extra oomph so people can know that like they can trust in your brand and know who your actual brand is so that when it comes to your products, they can actually buy it. Any questions so far, or should I just keep going?
So far, so good.
Cool. All right, so I'll just keep going. The next one I would say is retail is dead. Currently reading a book about retail, which is like super fascinating because it talks about how like Amazon kind of killed retail, but it really wasn't Amazon that killed retail. It was a slow decline and retail not giving people what they want in a sense of shopping. There's two different types of people who buy and people who shop. Uh, Buyers are more so know what they want, and it works perfectly for online sales or e-commerce. It's that person who just goes in the store, goes directly to the aisle that they want, get what they want, and get out. Whereas shoppers, if you were going to open up a retail store or a retail location, enjoy the actual activity of shopping. So you can't really do that on an e-commerce platform because the experience is not that great. You're just clicking from page to page. Whereas if you offer an experience within your retail store, or within your restaurant or coffee shop or whatever that may be, you can give them an experience that they can't necessarily get online. And a lot of retailers right now are actually doing that same thing. Um, Starbucks is known as the third location, whereas you go to work, you go home, Starbucks wants you to be that third location, where you can just like hang out, do your work, do any like supplemental things that you have to do. Um, and it's kind of weird that like Amazon is now and has been opening retail locations. So you can't really say Amazon killed retail when they're actually creating locations of their own. So it's just more about having that experience, um, and having that brand, because uh, just retail locations in itself aren't necessarily places where you would just buy things anymore. It's a place where people congregate and people need to know like what kind of things you stand for with the product that you have. Um, so like if you have a Dick's Sporting Goods, which has been growing, but I think with Sports Authority that closed, what was the difference between the two? Um, when you go into a Dick's Sporting Goods, it's pure athletic, where it just gives you the feel in the sense that you're aspiring to be your athletic self when you buy these things. And I don't think you got that from like Sports Authority. Um, so yeah, another thing to do is just kind of connect offline and online, and we're starting to get a bit better with that, especially with our mobile phones. I guess Starbucks is the best example, because when you go into a Starbucks, you can look at different products on your phone. You can look at how things are made on your phone. You can look at the ingredients. You can look at how the Frappuccino looks, um, in comparison to like, I don't know, uh, I'm not even good with coffee. I don't really drink coffee, but like you can just look at those kind of things, and then you can also pay with your phone. So the the lines are kind of blurred from offline and online, and that's what we call omni-channel, where you can actually do things online but also pick them up within the store, actually go to the store and still have that experience that you had online in the store. So yeah, Starbucks is an example. Target is a good example, where you can buy something online and then go pick it up. And a lot of people are doing that. It's actually, we're seeing actually in like studies that when you have a target in a location, online sales go up within that location rather than outside of the location. So if you're opening up a store, it just makes sense to kind of marry the two together, your online presence and your offline presence. Here, as far as mobile phones are concerned, according to Payments, it's a website. 48% of consumers use their phone in store, for orders, in-app discounts. They look at product informations, compare prices. So all that stuff, while they're in the store, they're still using your app or the website to choose which actual product that they would want.
I have a question.
Sure.
Hi. Just going back to the last slide. Thank you so much. Just talking about having a store and marrying it up with an online business, vice versa. I'm looking to do something online. So I'm not at the stage where I would for example, open up a store. And with the current climate with coronavirus anyway, sales online are more, I would say, than shops, you know, people going into shops and buying things from shops.
Mm-hmm.
So at what stage are you in the business, are you talking about this happening for a startup or, you know, 10 years down the line?
Okay, so for the most part, it's more for the startup who wants to create a offline brand or a storefront. To say that not all startups have to be online. Not every entrepreneur has to have an online business if they wanted to, just because of the fear of retail being dead, if that makes sense.
Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah, so as far as like timelines for an online business to go offline, that's really up to the discretion of you, the entrepreneur, and how much money you've created and your expenses to go offline and go make that retail store. But this is more so for someone who, and it's not to say that every entrepreneur wants to be an online business, but there are entrepreneurs who just want to create a cafe somewhere and maybe kind of may have concerns about starting a cafe because people aren't going into stores when that is outside of Corona. That is not the case. People still go to retail locations. So that's what I'm trying to portray in this slide.
Thank you.
No problem. So yeah, in the case of like omni-channel and just marketing offline and offline, digital marketing is really catching up to being able to kind of get those conversions and making and attributing them to retail stores. In the sense of Google is probably at the forefront of that. They have a clicks to bricks kind of, I wouldn't say program, but it's you're able to put your business on Google Local or Google My Business, be able to put it on Google Maps, and from there you can actually run search ads, you can run banner ads, and those banner and search ads can attribute to someone coming into your store based off the location in Google Maps. So if you want to marry the two as far as like digital marketing goes, definitely SEM and SEO, as far as local SEO, works out so that you know that the stuff you're doing online can attribute to the stuff that you're doing offline. This one is pretty self-explanatory. It goes back to the whole idea of knowing your audience, but there's this myth that you'll need to be on every social media platform, which is not the case. Again, I go back to like the easiest, probably like age range. If your business caters to older demographic, and you know how hot TikTok is, I mean, I wouldn't say definitely, but you probably don't need to be on TikTok for for the age range that you tend to serve. It's about knowing where your target audience is, and just how far you can extend yourself as far as social media goes, because a lot of startups are just one or two people, and to be everywhere at the same time is just not really needed. So know who your target audience is, and then find those channels where you can start placing your flag as far as your brand goes. So yeah, I wouldn't want to give any like recommendations to social media. I just know that uh, younger kids are usually, you don't really have to like worry about Facebook as much as you need to worry about Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok, and then vice versa. Like if you're uh, doing something that's more so newsworthy or something that you would like to share, and then like Facebook is probably a good place for you. Or even like if you wanted to start a community, Facebook groups is a place for that. But This is just to say that you don't have to sign up for every single social media account unless you wanted to take your name. And that's basically it. If you want to make sure that your name or your brand is not taken from by someone else, that's a good practice to have, but you don't necessarily have to use it.
Andrew, I have a question on this one. I've seen a company get a lot of interest through Pinterest, but the sales conversion was not there. The sales conversion was more on Facebook and Instagram.
Mhm.
Still be beneficial to monitor and maintain that account if it's driving traffic but not driving sales?
Yeah, 'cause I think you would have to see how those cells attribute. Not every platform is going to be a sales driver. It's going to be something that gives you awareness, and then later on in their purchasing cycle, they'll use a search ad or use SEO or use Instagram to actually then get the purchase. So if you're gaining awareness, if you're gaining traffic and it's good traffic, then yeah, definitely I would say keep going on Pinterest so that each time they get to the website, they have a better chance of purchasing from your business. I know even like in the case of like HyperX, we're not going to get the person on the first try. So we do have to retarget, we do have to remarket, and the best way, the best measure of knowing that someone's gonna purchase is the amount of times they've gone to our website. That's probably the biggest correlation between someone purchasing and someone not.
Thank you.
No problem. All right, the next one is make sure your copy is professional. Again, it goes back to knowing your audience. If your audience is very tech specific, if you're in a tech company, and this is where I mostly see it is in tech companies, um, people write to the engineer or the IT professional, where sometimes it may not be beneficial, or sometimes the jargon is too specific that the common person doesn't know what you're really talking about. um, yeah, for the most part, when it comes to like, say, an engineer creating a product that's like very worthwhile and very beneficial to customers, but they just aren't seeing the profits that they were expecting to generate, it's probably because the language and the imagery and all that stuff wasn't cohesive to what a person who would actually buy it want. And I think I've read plenty of times where like Apple would have like consultants who would come in to actually talk about the products that the engineer would create, because the key features of that product would be very specific and very tech heavy, in the sense that it would talk about the technology, but people just really want to know what it can do for them. So if you want to create a website, I would say no. It's a running theme. It's just like know your audience, know what they want in a product, and then talk to them in the way that they would want to be talked to. Another one is SEO is dead. It's kind of like retail is dead. I would say SEO isn't dead, and I'm kind of biased on this point because I started my career in SEO, but I think SEO has been made to um, kind of feel like you can just get free traffic from a search engine. The idea is we want to rank for this keyword and we want to be number one, and that typically just doesn't happen. So the idea really should be like kind of changed in a sense that who is my customer? What are they searching for when they go to Google, and how can I give them the relevant content they're searching for? The more you can do that, the more you'll be relevant to the customer, the more you'll be relevant to Google, and the more traffic you'll get from that. Any questions on this? Okay. So yeah, it's just I think search engine optimization kind of just needs a reframing. What you're really trying to do is be relevant to both Google and your customers. So you kind of have two customers here. I would say this for any type of like optimization, really. If you're doing YouTube optimization, if you're making a lot of videos for YouTube and just not getting the traffic, know the purpose of YouTube. Like what does YouTube want when they're trying to give relevant videos to that person? Try to kind of emulate what their purpose is, so you know your purpose, and that you can send the right message to the right people. Um, the message of Google is basically relevancy. They want to make sure that the article or the news or whatever that's being sent to the user is relevant to that user's search. And if you can make sure that your content is relevant to your customer, it's going to be more likely that it ranks high. It's not anything to do, it has little to do with like keywords and little to do with meta tags like titles, and all those are like great rules to like kind of give a baseline of what you need to do. But it's more so making sure that the content is good for you and for Google to to kind of search through, so that it goes to the right person. So yeah, I would say know your why, and trying to like getting into Google, and then make sure that the content is good for both your customer and Google. Another myth I would like to debunk is my competitor is only like products. That's not necessarily true, especially in the digital age. There's just so many different uh, varieties to choose from, especially within your product or any other product set. I work for HyperX. We make headsets. There's like 11 different headset makers, especially in the United States. So how do we kind of make ourselves different from that? And it's not just the headsets now. With video games, you can use earbuds, you can use Sony's headphones, you can not use headsets at all and use speakers. All those are competitors to my company. But if we just focused on headsets, we'd kind of just have we'd have a limit to how we could expand. So the earlier example of like um, aspirin, right? The earlier example of aspirin is just there's just so many types of aspirin that you can't really differentiate yourself from the aspirin. But then you have other things that can be remedies for a headache, like acupuncture. So you can't just say that your competitors are just what you have on the shelf next to you. It's more than that. It's anything that becomes the solution to your customer's problem. So you have to kind of differentiate yourself through the use cases of your product, not necessarily the product itself. Yeah, and just when you think about like being online in digital marketing, not all of the competitors are online. So you have to know what's in the stores, what's on the shelves, but know that you're competing both online and offline. Just getting back to the omni-channel point, people are online on their phones while they're in the store. So know that your competitors are, if someone's able to make a purchase of a product and they can use that as a substitute from your product, they're a competitor. Another myth to debunk is to not use negative reviews or reviews at all. I used to work at a fashion company that did not want to have reviews on their website in fear of having too many negative reviews. But the negative reviews are kind of just it's kind of your post check of whether the product's good or not. And if you're having too many negative reviews, that kind of just means that the product is not up to the expectation that you had, and it's probably a good time to pivot. So it's good time to it's always great to have just that feedback, and the best type of feedback is from other people who actually bought the product. So I wouldn't say not to have reviews, but if you have too many negative reviews, that kind of just lets you know um, what could be wrong with the product. And here in this chart, it tells you what, from a percentage wise, what people really have the what people you put in their reviews. So 88% of it is quality. They usually talk about the quality of the product. 72% is customer service. 50% is price, and we can go on. But it's not necessarily going to be about the product itself, but the ecosystem of the product too. So does it have quality? Is it built in a way that it doesn't break? Do you have customer service that is helpful? Is the price competitive? Things like that. So I would just use reviews, whether it be on your website, Yelp, Google, just to give a post check on whether your product is doing well, outside of just sales. Because if you had just sales and no reviews, you may not know if those people are going to be repeat customers. If they just bought it once and they kind of just hate your brand all of a sudden because you don't have that feedback. It's just good to know where people stand with your brand and how to build loyalty with that brand or with that customer. Last but not least, this is probably my favorite topic because within growth marketing, performance marketing, and direct marketing, a lot of the sales come from retargeting and remarketing. Like we said earlier, you you don't really get the sell on the first go when it comes to a customer coming to your website. It's going to take a couple steps for them to know who your product is, know who you are, compare those products to someone else, and then eventually actually buying the product. A lot of people say that retargeting is creepy, and I do agree with that, but I do agree in a sense that retargeting is only creepy if you abuse the power of retargeting. Um, it is pretty creepy when you say something to a friend and then you go on Facebook and you see the ad for the same product you just said. That is pretty creepy, but just making sure that you know the buyer's journey and knowing where they are in that journey, and then becoming top of mind for that person for that step in their journey. So all in all, like I said, there's a lot of advice out there online. There's a lot of good advice and there's a lot of bad advice. I think we're all just in it together just to learn, and digital marketing is definitely that aspect of the business that you have to continually learn. I don't think there's any stopping it. It's not just because like Facebook can give you a new feature tomorrow. It's more so that consumer behavior changes, especially online. So it's good to know those different kind of tactics, but it's also good to know why you're doing them. And yeah, that's it for me. I hope this presentation was useful for you. I hope that you can take this and kind of implement it with your business. I know there's no like real tactical things here, but if you kind of get where I was going with as far as making sure that you know who you are as a business, knowing your brand, and then knowing your customer, all those tactics kind of just fall into place.
Thank you, Andrew.